Thank you all for being here. There's 2 sheets if you didn't get 2. And I'll keep putting them out there for the next few weeks. So what I'd like to do in our time here is give you, just this week, I'll give you some background to this whole thing. And then in the next few weeks, we won't do this, just today. So I'll give you some background to this project, and then we'll watch the episode 1. We have 6 episodes. They're each 12 to 15 minutes long, not real long. And then we'll have some discussion afterwards. And some weeks the discussion may flourish, and other weeks maybe not so good. We'll just see how it goes. I am excited to say that this is the first, you are the first people to see this. The very first. Our website isn't even live yet, missionsupsidedown.com. It should be live in 2 or 3 days. So, yes, you are, don't look at yourself as guinea pigs. Look at yourself as pioneers. You really are guinea pigs. No, but we're really excited about this whole thing. Aaron and I got, like I said, we got a grant a few years back, actually just before COVID. And we started shooting. And our first shoot was in Liberia over Christmas break. So right now, we're in Liberia over Christmas break, shooting the first part of the episodes. And then COVID hit. So that shut us down for 2 years. We couldn't travel for 2 years. Then we got back up and running, Mexico, India, other places. All along the way, we've had some major roadblocks. Almost to the extent where we're wondering if someone didn't want us to finish this project. In fact, one of them, 2 summers ago, oh, there goes another one. 2 summers ago, I have about 60 terabytes of footage from this project, which is a lot. So we've shot this all in 4K, which is huge files. 2 summers ago, the big machine that all of this footage is on, which is redundant, which saves itself in multiple places so you can never lose it. We had a lightning strike in Sioux Center. And it was called an ISIS, if you can believe it. The ISIS went down, fried, gone. We thought, it is gone. This entire project is done. All of our footage was on there. We were 90% done with the editing. Got interviewed. We found a person in Burbank, California who could help us. We were able to get the footage off, move it to a new machine, which cost us $30,000. Back up and running. So just things like that have been happening for the last 5 years. It's just on and on. So you can imagine how excited we are to have this about done. Our goal in all of this was to create a video curriculum exploring missions. So this is some research from Barna, which is a Christian research organization. As of 2018, only 17% of churchgoers had heard of the Great Commission and knew what that term meant. Let that sink in for a minute. 17%. The remainder of churchgoers largely had never heard of it, 51%, with a quarter saying that they had heard of it but couldn't recall the exact meaning. So we knew we were up against some challenging demographics. Our audience for this whole thing is not just the American church, it's the Western church, so Western Europe, Canada, North America. There's people who know about this who are waiting for this to be done because they recognize that maybe it'll be useful for them. Depends on how you all react today. You're the first. Did I tell you that? You're the guinea pigs. So there's just a graph of those statistics. 51% don't know. Only 17% could explain what the Great Commission is. And that really is central to our calling as Christians. So as you already saw, we shot in 7 different countries. Today's episode, you'll recognize First Christian Reformed Church right here in Orange City, as well as many other places. It was a joy to have, because of the grant, we had enough budget where we could do what we wanted to do and do what we needed to do. And that made it a lot of fun. Often when you're doing nonprofit work like this, you're scrimping and saving. We had enough budget, we could do what we wanted to do. And that was a joy. And jump in anytime. Anybody has questions or anything along the way, interrupt or say, what do you mean by that? Or whatever, please. Yes.
Where'd the grant come from?
Most of it came from a Christian guy in California. He's 85. He has a lot of money. And his number one goal is to get rid of his money for the Great Commission before he dies. That's his passion. And so he didn't know a lot about Dort, but he heard about it. And some people at Dort, not me, built a relationship with him over time. And we proposed this idea. Well, it's not just doing the missions, it's educating the workforce too. And he liked the idea. So that's how this whole thing started. Any other questions? This is how every trip started. Students were on every part of this production, including post-production. That's the hallway right outside of my office at Dort, next to the media lab, loading up equipment, cameras, cables. The Marines have a slogan, "No man left behind." My motto for years and years has been "No cables left behind." Students, we can leave them behind, but no cables, no cameras, no lenses, no microphones. But no, this has been absolutely life-changing for so many students over the last few years. And they're all eager for it to come out too, because they were part of it.
So question.
Yeah.
How do you get to pick who got to go?
Yeah, who gets to go? Typically, they're upperclassmen, juniors and seniors, because they have a lot more experience by that point. They know a lot more. But also, how do I say this politely? On these kind of trips, there's no room for divas. You need people who just work hard. And they're not afraid of sleeping in hard places or not sleeping or horrible food or whatever, right? So you kind of have to pick and choose who gets to do these things. Yeah, men and women win. It wasn't just all men. This is Liberia. A lot of fun, worked with a lot of the locals too, of course, in all of these locations. That was important. Traveling on this particular trip, we spent probably 45 minutes to an hour each way on the backs of these little motorcycles getting to this jungle village where we had to do a story. And so we had gear in our backs. We were filming from the backs of these motorcycles. Demetrius is one of my students. It was really fun having an African American in Liberia because everyone started talking to him in the local language. Oh yeah, let's hit the lights. That's probably a good idea. So Demetrius would just look at them because he's about as American as anybody else, and they just assume because he's black he can speak their language. And he had a lot of fun with that. This is just a quick cell phone video. Yeah, you can see we got off. And then we walked across with all of our gear, and then we got back on and continued on through the jungle. Without gear, and then tested it first without gear, and then the gear. No cameras left behind. Is that a splash? It could have been a splash, but it wasn't. Yeah, planes, trains, automobiles, you name it. We did it to get these stories, and it was a great experience. Back of the truck. Yeah, this is Monrovia. Filming downtown Monrovia. Getting nowhere fast. This was kind of a bad one. We were stuck, and we didn't have ropes or anything. So we ended up cutting out from this vehicle. We cut out a seat belt, and then we strapped the seat belt to the front of this and to the back of another one, and we were able to pull ourselves out with using a seat belt. What's that? This is the interstate of Liberia. Yeah. Yeah, without the Crocs, fortunately. Yeah, just meeting people all over the world and hearing their stories and the joy of that. And students are just, they're phenomenal to work with because they're so open, and it's wonderful for me to see the world through the eyes of a first-time traveler. I'm old and jaded now, and I get to see it all through the eyes of first-timers, and it just is wonderful.
Mark, how'd you get the lead on the stories, on the testimonies?
Yeah, working with people who work in these regions. So we didn't just fly in and say, let's try to find somebody. You know, this was all laid out ahead of time. So, for example, you'll see this scene today in India in episode 1. We were going to film in the Ghat Mountains. There's these are all Hindu areas, but then there's individual villages where the entire village is Christian. And so we were going to film in this one on Sunday morning. They knew we were coming. We knew we were coming. But what we didn't know was that the entire village, I don't know, maybe 300 people, was going to meet us at the one road coming into the village and dance us into church. We had no idea. So we come in. Here's this mob waiting for us. We didn't know what the mob was doing. And there was all the Christians. There was the whole village. And they started singing and dancing and playing instruments. We got out of the vehicle. I had 2 cameramen plus myself. Got out of the vehicle. Got one of them to get the drone up in the air. I went to the front. Another one went to the back. And we filmed this entire procession dancing us into church. And you don't get these stories just watching it. So those are some of the joys of being a guinea pig. Thank you for being guinea pigs. So production is the shooting, just briefly. We did some amazing interviews, as I told you. We shot a lot on these big cameras. These are Blackmagic. We shot in 4K, which is huge files, Netflix ready. Not that we're going on Netflix, but Netflix, if you want to be Netflix ready, you have to shoot 4K or higher. So these are huge files. So this was an interview in India. Again, this pastor, the stories they told. In fact, right behind me right here, I won't point it out, but you'll see it in one of the episodes. The Hindus burned down the church, which is right behind us. And in the process of doing that, they ran into a door, just right over here, actually, and hauled a guy out. This is a little graphic. I apologize. We don't say it in the videos. But they hauled a young man out, a Christian, and they threw him on the bonfire, alive. A friend of mine was there 2 weeks later from the U.S. after that bonfire. He dug through the ashes, and he found a toe bone. And he kept it. It's on his desk in Michigan as a reminder to pray for the oppressed church. But the things that they have to teach us about missions in hard places is quite remarkable. And so through the process of this, trying to share some of those stories with other people. Daniel, filming downtown London. Not all of them were hard villages in Africa or whatever. Sometimes we got to go to nice places. This village is where William Carey grew up. William Carey was the missionary to India. It's kind of a legend in historic missions. And this chunk of stone right here that Aaron is standing in front of is built from the stones of William Carey's home. And it's important because we do a lot in India where William Carey laid the groundwork for missions to India. In fact, he started the first and only Christian university in all of Asia called Serampore, way back in the 1700s. So amazing shoulders that missionaries are standing upon today. Guess where that is? Thanks, Larry. It's not Africa. It's actually the Rock of Gibraltar at the base of Spain. Yeah, so students, again, just highlight their really important role in all of this. Such wonderful memories. We only had one piece of broken equipment this entire last few years, and it was Demetrius's glasses. So we taped him up with gaffer's tape, and he was as happy as could be. and no cables were left behind. Going over the script real quick between takes, making sure we get the takes right. That's Aaron Bart, our on-camera host and teacher. So we're making sure we get the takes right while we're on the boat. Filmmakers will tell you that audio is about 70% of your video. Even though it's a visual medium, audio is far more important than the visuals. So we took a lot of care to get good audio. Yep, just a lot of shooting, getting the shots we needed all over, wherever, and then cutting them together. Had to send Nicholas up a tree to get a shot that we needed because we didn't have a dolly or a crane. This is Fatu. You'll meet her in one of the other episodes, not today, telling an amazing story. It's an incredible story. Tom Ord holding the big microphone. He's finishing up his master's degree now at Western Seminary in Holland, Michigan, at Hope. Color correction. Rock of Gibraltar. All right, post-production. This is where we do all the editing. This is what any television show you've ever watched or in any movie in the theaters looks like this for the editor. So this is, this is episode 1, actually. This is what episode 1 looks like for an editor on our side. You'll see what that looks like, but this is what we work with. So you have all your video tracks, all your audio tracks, special effects, graphics, titles. Everything is done here. And so that's pretty much what everything looks like that you watch on television ever. And that's what we lost when our ISIS got fried by the lightning. We lost everything. Did some color correction when we shoot. We shoot in RAW. It actually looks like this when we shoot. And then in post-production, we bring that color out so it looks like that. Jump in if anybody has questions at any time. All right, almost done here, and then we'll watch the episode. We made our own deck of trading cards. That's the only thing that's going to be for sale. Everything else is going to be free. We have downloadable PDFs for leader guides, everything else. So people anywhere in the world can use this series. If they want trading cards, we'll have a place to order those. So what we did was in episode 2 or 3, we do a little story where Aaron is sitting in a village, and he tells a story of when he was a kid growing up in Canada. He collected trading cards, and he could list all the hockey players with his trading cards. And then he wipes those off the table in this village, and he tells a story that he heard once. It's not biblical. It's just a story somebody told him once. What if the angels in heaven collected trading cards of the great missionaries, people who gave their lives for the gospel? So we built our own deck, so there's David Livingstone. This is Joanna Veenstra. You might recognize that name, Mother Teresa. You won't recognize this name. Nancy Wrightball is still living. And so every episode, as we meet people, we add them to the deck. And so this deck keeps appearing in different episodes. And on the back, there's information about the people. Arlene Scheidemann, you might recognize her. She's local. There's William Carey, whose house we were in front of, north of London. So if you see those cards, that's what's going on with that. All right, we have 6 episodes. Today we're going to watch Still Finding Our Way. And then number 6, we do some wrap up and ask some more questions. We're not answering a lot of questions, we're asking a lot of questions. So that churches, university students, high school kids, evangelism committees can go through this series, and we're not spoon feeding anything. I don't know if we have the answers, but we are asking a lot of questions. So people start thinking more strategically about how do we do this and how do we do it well. As I said, our website should be up this week. Is anybody familiar with Right Now Media? A couple of you are, yeah. It's a big deal. And we're going to be on there within, I think, about 2 weeks. We should be up and running on there. So this is where John Piper and Francis Chan, and if you want, you do have to have a membership. And we have a DORT sponsored membership, and we're encouraged to share it. I'm not cheating them out of any money or anything. So if you would like a membership, ask me and I can give you the login credentials, and then you can do your own Bible studies or with groups. You can pick, there's thousands and thousands of video-based curriculums on the site, and ours will be one of them this month. So we're excited about that. Yeah.
If you just sign up, there's a bunch of free stuff on there.
Okay.
There's a bunch of free stuff.
Okay. Good. Excellent. Good. So yeah, we're excited about that. So we'll watch the episode and then we'll come to our questions. Can you hear it back there?
We're lost. I think we are. And yet the directions were so clear for the disciples and for us in the last words that Jesus ever spoke. He gave us the invitation to spread the love of God far and wide, the invitation of the kingdom of heaven to the ends of the earth. For centuries, the missional heartbeat of the global church has been stewarded by the northern and western hemispheres. And yet, today, not only is it stagnating in those places, it's actually declining. You know that today, this year alone, there will be 4 new non-believers for every 1 new believer in the American church. The church is shrinking. In many ways, it's actually dying in those settings. And yet here on the red earth that I'm standing on right now in sub-Saharan Africa, the gospel is growing at a faster rate than ever before in the history of the church. There is a movement of God afoot, and the mission of God to extend to the ends of the earth has not been lost, but it might be being stewarded in new places. And we need to reconsider our role in that relationship. Now, we sit in a place because we've just simply been inundated with information, technology, overload, affluence that we're practically choking on. We are not answering our own call. And so settling for entertainment with lesser things, the Great Commission is becoming the Great Omission. At least for us in the Western Church. Maybe down these paths we'll find it back. Maybe down these paths in the places where the gospel is growing the fastest and some of the hardest to reach places on earth, we'll find our identity, our calling, our path again. Ever since the day it was taken, that's always been my wife's favorite picture of me. She says it's because it's where I look the most alive, more than I've ever been before. And she couldn't be more right. I call it my John 10:10 picture. You know that passage where Jesus tells us his mission statement? I have come that you would have life and have it to the full. I felt so full that day, like I was realizing what I was put here for. Standing on New Year's Day after a crusade where people had given their lives to Christ, now baptizing them in the Atlantic Ocean on African shores. This is everything I dreamed about since I was a little kid. And yet, as time moved on, I began to realize that it was the man beside me. It was the indigenous African pastor and many more of his friends who were so much more effective doing this. So I found my place in participation in global missions, even participating in ways at the tip of the spear in frontier missions, by actually not going, by staying at home and finding support and telling the story and reminding people about the Great Commission, the most important thing we've ever been told. Jesus told us his mission statement, and then he gave us ours. Go and make disciples. Every tongue, tribe, and nation from Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. I found my place in that, and I'm still finding it. Stumbling as I go, making mistakes, like others you'll meet along the way. But we cannot lose sight of the one thing we're called to above all else. Spreading the arms of the kingdom of heaven wider and wider, so there are more places set at the wedding supper of the Lamb. My name's Aaron Barker, and this is where I get to work. I serve as Dean of Chapel and Chief of Staff at Dordt University in Sioux Center, Iowa. Somewhere where I would have never imagined landing. I was born and raised in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And I was a church planter in Canada before becoming a church planter here in the US. I'm going to introduce you to some of my friends there throughout this series. And we're going to go to multiple continents around the world, seeing all the places where God and His church is at work. As we talk about missions, we want to talk about where is God working and how. Where are the most effective strategies being employed for the future and propagation of God's church? Who's doing it well? Who's just killing it for the kingdom? What are the best strategies for missions that have come out of the past and are now going to serve us best into the future as the kingdom of God keeps moving and moving and growing and growing? If I were to ask you about the missionary work of the earliest disciples, you'd probably tell me stories of Paul and Barnabas, of Peter, Timothy, and Luke. And yet, at the same time, one often forgotten disciple, the one we've often called Doubting Thomas, at least as far as we can tell, went further than anyone else to reach the ends of the earth, all the way to India. Isn't that beautiful? That the last holdout disciple to accept the resurrection then went on to travel the farthest to tell the world about it. In fact, even today by car, the driving distance from Jerusalem to Chennai, India is almost 7,500 kilometers, just over 92 hours by car. But because of him, some of the oldest churches in the world were planted in India, where the Apostle Thomas is believed to have been buried, here in Chennai. From the disciples to Paul to Hudson Taylor to today, missions has always been in the very DNA of the Christian church. But now as Christianity has taken root in every country on our globe, what is the role of the Western church as it seeks to connect and support missions the world over, especially when that world is changing so much? The average Western church, just like this one, for centuries, Christians have given generously towards kingdom causes. Now, today's giving rate at about 2.5% of their annual income, that's still a collective $200 billion every year being given toward Christian causes. But of that $200 billion, only one out of every $1,000 is being given and allocated towards reaching the unreached in foreign missions. Now, when we talk about money like that, we need to talk about what's the most effective way of spending it and who it's being given to and why in different places all over the world. So it's absolutely critical that we connect conversations like that in places like this to places like this. These are the bustling city streets of the most populous country on earth, India, where competing worldviews and sometimes even violent clashes between different religious groups demonstrate the veracity of the timeless battle for the human heart and its allegiance. But who's going to be the most effective at doing that after a Christian presence has been firmly established somewhere? Canadian or American missionary? Or the aspiring Indian pastor who already by default knows the language, the culture, the customs, and his people? Perhaps we really need to think more about what it's going to take to connect here to there. You see, it's not just the thousands of miles that separate this room from that place. It's all the culture, worldview, religion, language, foods, and even if I were to be a missionary there for an entire lifetime, it still would not even come close to being able to put me in the same place as someone in that environment to be as effective. So maybe what we really need to do is consider that at the end of the day, the linchpin that takes us, the key piece that we're really missing that's going to connect this place with that place is actually here. The local Indian church. And thanks to loving and sacrificial missionaries who gave up so much, and sometimes even their lives, so that churches like this could exist, there are many places now in the world where missions needs a bigger, broader conversation than simply who is going to go there to be a missionary. Let me come at this whole conversation an entirely different way. Do you know by percentage of their populations, not by total number of Christians there, but by the percentage of their populations, which countries of the world are the most Christian today? Would you believe if I told you the number 5 most Christian country in the world is Papua New Guinea? Number 4, Grenada. Number 3, Armenia. Number 2, Romania. And number 1, Timor-Leste, which I couldn't even find on a map. I had to look it up. So I ask you, who should be sending missionaries today to whom? We'll keep asking questions like that throughout this series as we continue to find our way, and by the grace of God, still always stumbling forward, including in the next episode, episode 2, where we'll talk about claiming our roots and dreaming about our future until all have heard.
All right. Well, a few playback issues there with the laptop, but you get the idea. Okay. Any first thoughts? You are the first people to see this thing. Any reactions to what you saw? Either, yeah. Before we get into the paperwork.
How do you know that stuff? Like, how do you know what countries are the most Christian?
Yeah, a lot of research, and a lot of it's in the handout that you got. Yeah, we kind of went overboard in protecting ourselves from because those are the questions we expect, and we better have our ducks in a row. So we did a lot of research over the last few years. Yeah, some of that's kind of stunning, isn't it? Yeah.
You talk about a village being, in some cases, 100% Christian. Does that village, is it persecuted, from a community standpoint? And do they just kind of choose to kind of live within their community, or as Christians, do they try and reach out to other villages and communities? Yeah,
the 100% village thing, especially in India. Yeah, they're surrounded by Hindu villages. So market day is everybody. So they all go to the same market day. And yeah, they're definitely not kind of hiding. They farm next to Hindu farmers. And so, yeah, they're very much part of their community. But everyone knows, oh, they're from that village. They're not Hindus. So there's always that. Yeah. All right. Well, throw them out anytime. You've probably already read a lot on that first page, kind of a background. And we have these leaders guides laid out. They'll be laid out on our website with graphics and all kinds of fun stuff. But if you look at that right in the middle, the highlighted, the average American spends $37 a month on streaming services. That's 100 times more per day for Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Video than it is to global missions. And that came from CNBC. And just some other statistics, $6.2 billion on Costco and Sam's Club hot dogs. It just reminders to us and to audiences and classrooms of what are our priorities. Maybe we should think this through a little bit. Keeps things in perspective a little bit. Top of page 2, $136 billion on our pets. The next highlighted piece in the middle there. Did you know that by 2025, that's this year, 2/3 of Christians are found in Latin America, Asia, or Africa. And it's been said that the average, in quotes, Christian today is female and black. That's your average Christian today, a black female. So for those of us from the Midwest, at least me coming out of West Michigan and now Iowa, I still often have it in my head, well, where are the missionaries? We send people to them. Not so sure that's true anymore. We still need to be doing that, of course. The Great Commission hasn't stopped, but it looks different than it used to. So let's just open it up a little bit. Number one for discussion. We started out with Aaron in the jungle. We're lost. Would you agree that the Western Church is lost when it comes to the Great Commission? Why or why not? Anybody want to weigh in on that?
To some extent, it depends on how you define the Western Church.
Yeah.
If anything that's called Christian is included in Western Church, then yes. If it's truly evangelical, then it's no.
No what?
Not totally lost.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, and I think with Western here, that's a good distinction. We're including Western Europe, the Western Church. Historically, we've been the senders. England, Germany, U.S., Canada. Yeah, Glenn, Jen?
Don't you think a good part of that though has to be where the Spirit's moving? You go back to some of the statements that Christ made, don't throw your pearls before swine. In other words, we got to be watching where the Holy Spirit is working, and then it's a matter of, well, who cares what continent or whatever, it's actively responding.
Right.
Are we doing that work there or helping those people function in that region where
Sure.
we see the Spirit?
Yep. So we have lost our way. We haven't lost our way. It doesn't matter if we lost our way.
It's back to what Todd said, Reverend Todd. It's a matter that true evangelical church isn't going to lose its function as Christ is working in them. Maybe we're, I don't know how to say it the other way around, but the key part of it is it's God's kingdom will move forward. Are we going to be part of it or not?
Yeah. And a missionary friend in the Philippines once say, look for the vapor trails of the Holy Spirit and go there. Yeah.
Mark, I think in my personal experience, one of the things that we've experienced from coming at it from the ministry I'm involved in is you have a tendency to think that you have to step outside of your already given gifts and abilities and experiences to go do something completely different. But if you go with what God's given you to that same kind of a people group, whether it be a church or government or law enforcement or teachers or whatever,
Yeah.
and bring that there, I think we found that gives them the most hope to try to do something with somebody. You're not trying to be effective when you're trying to be somebody that you're not going to.
Yeah.
Too many people, I think, take time to try to figure out what that's supposed to be when they already have it.
Yep.
Maybe not so much about is the Western Church lost as is it knowledgeable? As I watched this video, I'm illiterate when it comes to the people who went to India. We've been exposed to a narrow slice of mission work. This is so much broader than what we're aware of.
Yeah.
So we are really illiterate.
Yeah.
In terms of mission theory and practice.
Yep. Yeah. Fits right into what Barna says. 17%. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I think too, you give your money in the offering for the Great Commission for the missionaries, and then you think you've done your part, which is part of it. But then what else can we do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think also saying, kind of going on that same thing that Dell was saying. I remember being told when we were missionaries, it's like the gifts that you have when you're here are the gifts you take with you there. it's not like you change on the airplane ride. It's like you are here, what you will be there, and vice versa. I always thought that was an interesting thing. It's not like you become something different once you get there just because you went on an airplane ride.
Right.
It's like the gifts you have here are the gifts you can also use.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, I know we're running out of time, so we'll go through this quickly here. Personally, just on number one, I feel like when I say the church, I don't mean Calvary, I just mean the church in general. When I was a kid growing up in West Michigan, it felt like there was a lot more emphasis on missions. And I don't sense that as much as I did as a kid. And maybe that's reflective of me, maybe that's reflective of culture as a whole. We love doing good works, painting houses, digging wells, that kind of stuff. Is that mission work? It can be part of it. Are we really focused on this whole idea of the Great Commission? We asked that question, asking groups to explore it. Like I said, we're not giving all the answers. We don't have all the answers. We're asking questions so that groups explore this. So let's say a missions committee at a local church watches this series and they've got budget for missions. Well, one of our members' cousins is going to, maybe, as we go through this, maybe we should think this through a little bit more, be a little bit more strategic about it. Yeah, things like that. Let's jump to the last one. If Christianity now has at least a foothold in every country on earth, how should that change how we think about missions? I'm sorry, number 4, not the last one. Any thoughts on that? Should that change how we think about missions? How so?
So you mentioned Western Church quite intensely, but if you go to England, France, Spain, Germany, the vast majority of what we do Western, they are not Christian nations anymore. Not even close.
Oh.
In fact, the opposite is probably happening larger and larger. So I think you have to be very careful with foothold, because you're giving up ground in what you thought was a stronghold. You look at the countries that were listed as countries that are large percentage of people that are Christians, probably a lot harder to be a Christian there than it is here. And so, and I've struggled with this immensely myself. How strong is a Christian when I really am? If it came down to it, push comes to shove, there's my line. And so, I think we have to be very, very cautious with the word foothold and understand what we've lost. And we're losing it here fast. And we aren't doing a darn thing about it. And so that's my nervousness when you say the word foothold. We're losing here and we're not doing anything about it.
Sure.
Does it matter if there's a foothold somewhere else? If we're losing it?
Yep, good. Thanks. Anybody else want to weigh in on that one? I wanted to find those missionary cards, wherever they are. Do you all recognize this person, Joanna Veenstra? Have you heard that name before? She was the first CRC missionary to Africa, Nigeria. So when she went, there was barely a foothold, getting back to that word, of a Christian presence in Nigeria. Today, that is completely reversed. It's a whole different era. So in a sense like that, we just in the CRC, we've been ascending force to Nigeria for pushing 100 years. Knowing the situation now, does that change how we think about, hey, we should send missionaries to Nigeria? What should they look like? What should they do? Because the situation is completely reversed as far as the foothold, getting back to that word, of the gospel in Nigeria. So just thinking through that may have an impact on some of our decisions as a church that we make about missions. Yeah.
And just reflection on how that occurred. I've heard the story that originally the denomination was not fully in favor of Johanna going.
Right.
She almost had to prove herself first before the money started to come.
And she was with a different organization first. Yep. Good. Well, again, just time. We'll close in prayer, but yeah, we'll keep going through the series and exploring what's happening and asking questions and thinking through some of these issues. So there's a prayer at the end of your sheet. I'll include that as part of our closing prayer. Let's pray. Lord, increase both our passion for and generosity to the advancement of the gospel. We know that it is your heart to reach every child of yours in this world with the invitation into life with you. Help us to more fully open our hearts and our minds and our lives and our pocketbooks to this essential task. Lord, thank you for Calvary. Thank you that we have a strong missions presence here, and we love sharing our bounty with those who are doing amazing things in various parts of the world. Continue to increase our hearts for this. Help us to give sacrificially. And Lord, in this series too, help open our eyes and our minds to big questions about how we finish the task so that all may hear. Keep us in your care this afternoon, we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you all. I got to stop recording here. Thank you. You bet.